Think about those neighborhoods that just blend into the background, right?
Yeah.
The kind where life seems to hum along without any major drama.
Yeah, totally.
Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of those places, East Side in Atlanta. Because beneath that veneer of normalcy, a real battle for the heart of this community has been unfolding.
And what's striking is how quickly that everyday facade can just, well, crumble when something systemic takes root. In Eastside, that catalyst is a particularly nasty strain of heroin.
Right. And it tragically took the life of a young man named Marcus.
Exactly. And that tragedy becomes our lens into this story, really.
Marcus left behind a brother, Khalil Jackson, who was grappling with this grief and anger that are almost, palpable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Khalil comes across an artifact, something we'll touch on more as we go, and it actually amplifies abilities he already possessed.
Wow. Imagine that internal storm. The raw pain of loss colliding with this sudden sort of overwhelming potential.
It really speaks to a fundamental human response to loss, doesn't it? That initial impulse towards some form of, redress.
Absolutely. Khalil's immediate focus is laser sharp. He wants to avenge Marcus
Ow.
by targeting the drug dealers who operate openly on a well-known corner in East Side. It's a direct, almost primal reaction.
Now, there's another key player navigating this landscape, Aaliyah Johnson. She's a reporter with Atlanta Metro News.
Right, and she's been covering the gentrification happening in East Side, but like Khalil, she's wrestling with a deep frustration.
What's her frustration about?
She sees the surface level changes, the new businesses popping up, but she can't shake the feeling that she's missing the real story.
The undercurrent.
Exactly. The drugs, the influence of this figure known only as King Cobra.
And Aaliyah isn't just an impartial observer in all of this, is she?
No, not at all. She has a history with the Jackson family. She knew both Marcus and Khalil.
Mm-hmm.
So when Marcus dies from that overdose, it hits her on a personal level. It fuels her own sense of outrage and a feeling of helplessness, I think, that she's determined to overcome.
Which leads us to King Cobra himself. Darius Thorne is his real name.
Yeah, and what's particularly chilling is the image he actively cultivates in the community.
The philanthropic angle.
Totally.
Yeah.
He's seen as a pillar, even making very public donations to the Decatur Youth Center.
It's a classic manipulation, right?
Yeah.
Because behind that charitable front, he's secretly the one orchestrating the entire drug operation. The sheer audacity is, wow.
Well, and this kind of calculated philanthropy isn't just about deflecting suspicion. It actively builds a layer of social capital.
It makes it harder for people to believe the truth.
Precisely. It makes it harder for the community to accept the idea that someone so seemingly generous could be involved in something so destructive. It's strategic. Control through influence, not just intimidation.
Now, King Cobra isn't operating in a vacuum. He's hearing whispers, sensing shifts in East Side.
Mm-hmm. A little more police presence, talk of someone disrupting things.
And that's where his lieutenant, a guy known as Razor, comes into the picture.
Yeah, Cobra doesn't take these disruptions lightly. He gives Razor a direct order. Remind them who is in charge.
Oof. You can feel the threat hanging in the air there.
Exactly. This is the point where the underlying tensions start to boil over into something more overt. Cobra's command signifies a move towards more forceful, probably violent, assertion of dominance.
And wouldn't you know it, right around this time, a new figure starts appearing.
The masked man.
Yeah, a masked individual that people of East Side begin to call the East Side Guardian. Of course, this is Khalil, acting in secret.
Right.
He's put together a basic disguise, dark clothes, hoodie, even a piece of tarp fashioned into a mask. It's about necessity, about staying hidden.
And his initial actions are pretty stark.
Taking down dealers, tying them up.
And making a very visible statement by burning their drugs. This kind of direct action immediately destabilizes the existing power structure.
It's more than just money, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The destruction of the drugs is more than a financial hit. It's a symbolic attack on King Cobra's authority. It's a clear declaration of war, even if Khalil doesn't quite see it that way at first.
The community's reaction is really interesting. It's a mix, right? Hope and fear.
Definitely. On one hand, there's this sense of relief, finally, someone is pushing back. But on the other hand, there's a very real fear of retaliation.
Fear of what this vigilante might bring down on them.
Exactly. That push-pull is really embodied in the name they give him, the East Side Guardian.
It's a common dynamic in communities facing that kind of oppression, isn't it?
Very much so. The emergence of someone willing to stand up often sparks hope, but that hope is always shattered by the fear of reprisal. It's a precarious balance.
And Aaliyah, always the reporter, starts digging into this Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Something about his build, the way witnesses describe his movements. It sparks a flicker of recognition for her.
Her journalistic curiosity merges with a personal hunch. She starts to suspect this Guardian might be closer than she thought.
What kind of specific details do you think might trigger that for someone like her, knowing Khalil?
Oh, it could be something subtle, a particular way he carries himself, a specific gesture, even under the disguise. When you know someone well,
You pick up on those tells.
right, those unconscious tells that are hard to mask completely. For Aaliyah, having that history with Khalil, she'd be more attuned to those nuances.
Now, when Aaliyah tries to get official info from the police, specifically Detectives Miller and Davis, she hits a wall.
A brick wall, they're dismissive, just chalking it up to typical gang violence.
But Aaliyah's instincts are sharp. Their refusal to even acknowledge the possibility of a vigilante. That just strengthens her suspicion, right?
Totally. It makes her think something isn't right, that
Yeah.
there might be a deliberate downplaying of the situation.
That kind of dismissiveness from law enforcement can be a huge red flag.
Definitely. Whether it's incompetence or something more sinister like willful blindness or even corruption, it stops a proper assessment, lets problems fester.
And a good reporter probes that kind of resistance.
Always.
Meanwhile, back in his world, King Cobra gets the reports about this East Side Guardian. Needless to say, he's not pleased.
Not pleased is putting it mildly.
He orders Razor to find this person, identify them, and neutralize the situation. And he wants it handled quietly, discreetly.
Yeah, Cobra is acutely aware of maintaining his public image.
Why is that image so crucial for someone like him, do you think?
Well, for someone operating outside the law, a respectable public image is a powerful shield.
Allows him to move more freely.
Exactly. Deflect suspicion, even garner support. Any disruption to that image risks bringing unwanted scrutiny, potentially unraveling his whole operation.
And Cobra doesn't waste any time retaliating. But instead of going directly after the Guardian,
He targets the community itself.
yeah, a brutal gang sweep is orchestrated. And it seems like Miller and Davis are more than happy to go along with it.
Homes raided, businesses vandalized, residents beaten, arrested.
It's a clear, terrifying message. Cooperate with the Guardian, and you suffer. This kind of collective punishment is particularly effective, isn't it, in stifling dissent.
Absolutely. By targeting the broader community, Cobra isn't just punishing potential helpers, he's instilling widespread fear.
Makes people think twice.
It forces individuals to weigh supporting the vigilante against the very real, immediate threat of violence. It's brutal, designed to break their will.
You can only imagine Khalil's reaction as he sees this suffering, these unintended consequences.
Yeah, seeing someone like Mrs. Henderson whose store is destroyed, that must hit him hard.
The guilt mixes with his rage. This internal battle between justice and maybe just pure vengeance, it must be tearing him apart.
This is a real turning point for him, I think. He's forced to confront the ethical complexities of his actions.
He started wanting to avenge his brother.
Right, but now he's seeing how his methods have unforeseen harmful repercussions for innocent people. This internal conflict is essential for his growth. It'll shape his future decisions.
And Aaliyah, as always, is right there, documenting the police brutality.
She confronts Miller and Davis. Despite the obvious danger, she's determined to expose what's really happening.
Her commitment to journalistic integrity is really unwavering. What kind of risks is she taking here?
Oh, the risks are significant. Beyond potential physical harm or intimidation from corrupt cops or Cobra's people,
Her career.
her credibility, her career, her safety, exposing powerful people involved in crime, it can have severe repercussions. But for journalists dedicated to the truth, it's a risk they often feel compelled to take.
So the stage is really set now. Khalil's personal quest has morphed into something much larger.
A war for the very soul of East Side.
And it's clear that both sides, Khalil and King Cobra, understand that the stakes are rising, fast. It's no longer just about one man's vengeance.
Exactly. The conflict has broadened. It's a direct confrontation for control of the community. Both Khalil and Cobra recognize the escalating nature of this.
Aaliyah, driven by her suspicions, really starts to dig deeper into the Guardian.
Analyzing witness accounts, looking for patterns.
And she starts noticing his actions aren't random. They seem specifically targeted at Cobra's drug operations.
Right. It's becoming clear this isn't just general vigilantism, there's a focus.
What does that kind of targeted activity suggest?
It suggests an inside knowledge or a very specific motivation. Random vigilantism is usually more chaotic. The fact that the Guardian is consistently hitting Cobra's operations implies he knows the trade, knows where to hit hardest.
Then she gets her hands on some grainy cell phone footage.
And it's those small, almost imperceptible details.
The way the Guardian fights, a specific way he lands after jumping off a roof, it triggers a memory for Aaliyah.
Reminds her of Khalil. That personal connection is becoming undeniable.
How powerful can those tiny details be in figuring something like this out?
Incredibly powerful. Our subconscious often picks up on subtle mannerisms in people we know. When those details resurface in a different context, like watching a masked figure, they create that strong sense of familiarity, like, I've seen that before.
And then she revisits the police reports, focusing on Miller and Davis.
Their frequent presence, where the Guardian has been cited, coupled with their consistently vague, dismissive accounts.
It really starts to raise alarm bells for her. It just doesn't add up. Why would experienced detectives offer such unhelpful reports time after time?
Well, there are a few possibilities, none of them good. It could be gross incompetence, but the consistency suggests something more deliberate.
Maybe overwhelmed.
Possibly. But their dismissive attitude points towards a potential cover-up, maybe even direct involvement in protecting Cobra.
Aaliyah's journalistic instincts kick in. She delves into Miller and Davis's professional histories.
And what she finds is disturbing. A pattern of questionable conduct, internal affairs complaints that just disappeared.
It strongly suggests corruption, and she starts to see the threads connecting them to King Cobra's operation.
And this kind of systemic corruption, it's incredibly difficult to fight, isn't it?
It really is. When corruption gets entrenched in institutions like law enforcement, it creates this huge barrier to justice, allows criminal enterprises to operate with impunity. Unraveling that kind of web takes immense courage.
It all starts to click into place for Aaliyah. King Cobra's influence isn't just on the streets, it reaches into the police force itself.
And it becomes chillingly clear that the East Side Guardian is the only real force actively standing against him.
It's a classic David and Goliath, but with much higher, much more dangerous stakes.
Absolutely. Aaliyah's realization highlights the systemic nature of the problem. It's not just one drug lord, it's a whole network.
And the Guardian, in this context, becomes a symbol of resistance against this, insurmountable force.
Aaliyah remembers her last conversation with Khalil, his feelings of utter powerlessness about East Side. And she begins to wonder if this artifact he found somehow amplified that desire to help. But maybe twisted his understanding of justice.
It's a valid question. How can good intention sometimes lead down a dangerous path?
Intense emotion, maybe. Grief, anger.
Yeah, your perspective gets skewed. The desire to right a wrong can become so consuming that it eclipses the consequences or makes you think the ends justify the means, even if those means are ethically questionable.
And with all these pieces falling into place, Aaliyah makes a decision.
She has to confront Khalil directly.
She needs the truth, needs to understand what he's become. That's a huge personal risk for her.
It is. Confronting him puts their friendship and maybe her own safety at risk. But her commitment to the truth, her concern for Khalil, it likely outweighs those fears.
We then get a glimpse into Khalil's life as the Guardian.
Patrolling the shadows, senses heightened, that constant anger simmering.
But also his efforts to keep those emotions in check. It paints a picture of someone wrestling with immense internal pressure.
Oh, absolutely. The psychological burden of being a vigilante, the stress, the secrecy, the moral ambiguities, it's immense. Combine that with his grief and the amplified abilities. He's walking a very precarious tightrope.
The confrontation finally happens. Aaliyah doesn't hold back.
Lays out her accusations directly.
Khalil initially denies it, that knee-jerk reaction. But eventually, reluctantly.
He admits it. He is the East Side Guardian.
He tries to explain, tries to say he was protecting her by keeping her in the dark.
And you can just feel the conflicting emotions swirling within Aaliyah. Concern, anger, but also this need to understand.
And she warns him, right?
Yeah.
About the dangers of vigilantism.
She does. What are some of those inherent dangers she might be thinking of?
Well, it operates outside the law. No accountability, no due process, high risk of misjudgment, excessive force, unintended consequences.
Right. It can undermine the actual legal system, create cycles of violence. Aaliyah, believing in the rule of law, would be acutely aware of all that.
Then Aaliyah gets a crucial tip. Something about increased criminal activity near the Henderson warehouse.
As she goes to check it out.
And there, she witnesses the Guardian fighting a shadowy figure called Wraith. And in that moment, any lingering doubt just vanishes. She knows it's Khalil.
The introduction of a metahuman opponent like Wraith really escalates things, doesn't it?
Hugely. It suggests Cobra has resources beyond just street thugs, a significant physical threat to Khalil.
And Aaliyah does what comes naturally. She starts recording.
The fight is intense. Wraith uses this dark shadow energy.
And Khalil counters with a flash of light. But he gets injured.
Yeah, he's forced to retreat. Wraith is frustrated, vows to track him down, reports his failure back to Razor.
What does Khalil's injury signify here?
Well, it underscores that even with his abilities, he's not invincible, highlights the danger he's in, suggests Cobra's forces are a real threat.
And it gives Wraith and Cobra a vulnerability to exploit.
Now Khalil, still hurting, moves through his community as KK, his everyday self.
Sees the fear on people's faces, Cobra's influence tightening its grip.
He talks with Mrs. Henderson, and it becomes clear that despite the fear, he's inadvertently become this symbol of hope.
That's a heavy burden to carry, isn't it?
Immense.
Yeah.
To be seen as a beacon of hope, he now has to reconcile his personal motives with the expectations and the safety of the people looking to him.
He's desperately missing Aaliyah, too.
But consumed by the fear that contacting her puts her in danger, that self-imposed isolation must be incredibly difficult.
Isolation is tough, especially when you're dealing with trauma and pressure. Cutting himself off from Aaliyah, while meant to protect her, deprives him of crucial support.
Aaliyah's investigation ramps up. That web of red string on her wall gets more intricate.
Connecting photos of Khalil, Guardian news clippings, maps.
Mrs. Henderson's cryptic words echo in her thoughts. Khalil's evasiveness, his unexplained injuries, the pieces are forming a clear picture.
It's often that accumulation of small details that leads to a breakthrough.
Yeah, exactly. Each piece connected reveals patterns, like a puzzle forming a complete image.
And she decides she has to confront him again.
This time at their old haunt, the childhood coffee shop, a place steeped in memories.
The meeting is charged with tension. She lays out her evidence.
His denials are weak. Finally, he admits it all.
But their perspectives on justice still clash.
Aaliyah expresses her deep worry, but she also offers support, despite her disagreements. That shows real depth in their friendship.
It really does. Her willingness to support him, despite ethical reservations, highlights their bond. She values the relationship, believes in his underlying intentions, even if she questions his actions.
Meanwhile, King Cobra is livid about Wraith's failure. He's not used to things going wrong.
No, so he orders Razor to identify someone the Guardian cares about.
Cobra knows hitting someone's personal life is the most effective way to break them. Classic villain move.
It's a common tactic. Inflict maximum emotional pain, force them into a vulnerable position.
And a Razor, chillingly, identifies Mrs. Henderson as that vulnerable link.
Cobra, without a hint of remorse, tells Razor to make it look like a regrettable but discreet accident.
The calculated cruelty is just appalling.
The deliberate targeting of Mrs. Henderson, a respected, vulnerable community member, underscores Cobra's ruthlessness. And the demand for discretion shows his continued concern for his public image, even amidst such violence.
And just like that, the staged fire at the Henderson's home happens. Quick, brutal, designed to look accidental.
The efficiency is terrifying. It highlights the resources and network Cobra commands.
Khalil learns about the fire while at the hospital, presumably getting treated for the Wraith fight injuries.
The wave of guilt and raw rage that must wash over him, unimaginable.
He confronts Miller and Davis, but predictably, they dismiss his accusations against Cobra. Their complicity is basically confirmed now.
How does that kind of betrayal by authority impact someone like Khalil?
It compounds the trauma, reinforces that sense of injustice, powerlessness. When the people meant to protect you are working against you, it erodes all trust, can lead to despair, maybe a greater urge to take matters into your own hands.
He's torn. The burning desire for revenge is screaming inside him.
But a quieter voice, maybe Mrs. Henderson's teachings, urges a smarter approach. That internal battle must be agonizing.
It's a crucial moment. Choose immediate emotional retaliation or a more reasoned path to lasting justice.
Then comes the devastating news. Mrs. Henderson has passed away.
Oh, no.
The grief, the crushing guilt, the renewed fierce determination to make Cobra pay. It's an unbearable burden.
That loss will undoubtedly fuel him. It solidifies his resolve. The loss of someone he cared for directly at Cobra's hands. It likely extinguishes any remaining doubts about bringing him down.
We find Khalil at Marcus's grave, a place of deep sorrow. In that despair, he seems to realize he can't continue down this path of pure vengeance.
He makes a pivotal decision.
He needs Aaliyah's help.
Yeah.
He recognizes his limits as a lone actor.
That moment of vulnerability signifies a huge shift. Acknowledging the limits of his individual actions, the need for collaboration, it's a sign of maturity. He can't do this alone.
And he reaches out to Aaliyah. His message is clear, concise, desperate. Help me take down King Cobra once and for all.
Their alliance is about to fundamentally change. His direct plea marks a transition from lone vigilante to seeking partnership, recognizing the need for different skills.
He doesn't just ask for help. He admits the corruption shielding Cobra is too deep for him alone. And then the revelation.
He shows Aaliyah his powers, confirms he's the guardian.
It's a moment of profound trust. Vulnerability. What's the impact on Aaliyah?
Likely shock, but also understanding. It explains things she's seen, connections she's made, but it also raises new questions, concerns about his abilities, the consequences.
Her initial reaction is totally understandable.
Yeah.
Shock, disbelief, struggling to reconcile the Khalil she knows with this powered vigilante.
And she doesn't shy away from questioning his methods. Her journalistic instincts demand scrutiny.
Her skepticism is rooted in her principles, right? Understanding the potential for abuse of power, even with good intentions. Her questioning is crucial to keep their fight grounded in justice, not just retribution.
But despite her reservations, Aaliyah agrees to help.
On her terms, though, firm ground rules.
Journalistic integrity paramount. Focus on evidence, truth, no excessive force, no illegal actions on their part.
She emphasizes, we have to be better than Cobra. Demands complete trust, honesty.
Why are these ground rules so vital for her?
They're essential for her own integrity. Ensures their fight doesn't compromise their values. By sticking to ethics and legal boundaries, they keep the moral high ground, don't become the enemy. And trust is fundamental for any partnership like this.
And so, Aaliyah's apartment transforms
Into a clandestine war room. Maps, research, late nights. They are all in, meticulously planning how to dismantle Cobra's empire. Piece by painstaking piece.
The transformation symbolizes their commitment to a coordinated, strategic approach, a shift from reactive vigilantism to proactive intelligence gathering and planning, leveraging both his abilities and her investigative skills.
Khalil puts his enhanced senses to work, becomes their primary intel source.
Focusing on Cobra's key lieutenants, known hideouts, especially the Serpent's Lair.
And during one surveillance run, he overhears crucial info, details about a major heroin shipment codenamed the Serpent's Kiss.
Arriving at the port of Savannah, this is a huge breakthrough.
It is a tangible target, an opportunity to strike a major blow against Cobra's operation. Khalil's intel gathering is a massive asset.
Aaliyah, using her contacts, manages to corroborate the shipment details. Origin, Colombia, disguised as textiles. Aboard the freighter, Midnight Star.
Their combined skills are proving potent already. How important is that verification step?
Oh, absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Especially dealing with dangerous info. Acting on unverified intel could be disastrous, wasted effort, danger, maybe even playing into Cobra's hands. Aaliyah's training ensures accuracy.
Khalil acts swiftly, intercepts the shipment at the port,
Confiscates the massive quantity of heroin.
and leaves a clear, defiant message for Cobra. The East Side is watching. Bold.
What kind of psychological impact does that have on someone like Cobra?
It's a direct challenge to his authority, his control. Shows someone is actively undermining him. Bold enough to leave a calling card. Breeds paranoia, forces him to divert resources, disrupts things.
Then in a daring move, Khalil infiltrates the Serpent's Lair itself, Cobra's nightclub.
Uses his agility, enhanced senses, bypasses security, gets into Cobra's private office.
And inside finds a treasure trove of incriminating evidence. Ledgers, secret bank statements.
Even a map of East Side detailing illegal activities, corrupt officials. He photographs everything.
And takes a locked box. Contents unknown, but potentially vital.
This is a major intelligence coup.
Huge. Obtaining this kind of evidence is crucial for building a case, exposing the corruption network. The ledgers, statements, concrete proof. The map reveals the extent of his influence, collaborators. The box adds mystery. Could yield even more.
Their differing approaches, though, keep creating friction.
Aaliyah, with her belief in due process, journalistic ethics.
Clashes with Khalil's more impulsive desire for immediate action, his distrust of the system. They're constantly navigating that tension.
How can such different perspectives ultimately strengthen their partnership, though?
Well, by challenging each other, they can arrive at more well-rounded strategies. Aaliyah's emphasis on legality stops Khalil from crossing lines. Khalil's urgency pushes Aaliyah to act decisively when needed. That dynamic, while tricky, can lead to a more balanced, successful outcome.
Amidst the danger and planning, they share a quiet moment of reflection.
Acknowledging the risks, the loss of normalcy, but finding solace in their shared purpose, their deepening connection.
There's gratitude, mutual belief solidifying between them. Those human connection moments must be vital.
Absolutely. In the face of adversity, they provide essential emotional support, reinforce commitment, remind them what they're fighting for, help sustain them.
Cobra, meanwhile, is growing increasingly paranoid, frustrated. His empire is starting to crumble.
Internal Affairs is actively investigating Miller and Davis. Key drug shipments are vanishing. He knows something's deeply wrong. He's losing control.
How does that internal disruption affect a criminal organization?
Breeds distrust, uncertainty. Operations disrupted, internal investigations. Creates suspicion, infighting, breakdown of hierarchy. Cobra's paranoia will likely make him even more erratic. Dangerous.
He suspects the Guardian and Aaliyah are responsible, orders increased security, tells Razor to find the leak in his organization.
He's desperately trying to plug the holes in his sinking ship.
Cobra's focus on the leak shows his security's been compromised. Increased security is predictable, but strains resources might expose weaknesses.
Razor, ruthless as ever, interrogates Shadow, a low-level dealer.
Under pressure, Shadow confesses to giving the Guardian info.
The consequences are swift, brutal. Shadow is severely punished as a warning. Reinforces that climate of fear.
Yeah, the public, violent punishment sends a clear message. Stay loyal or else. Tactic to maintain loyalty through fear, eliminate internal resistance.
But despite that fear, a different kind of resistance is emerging in Eastside.
Graffiti supporting the Guardian appears. Community members cautiously share info with Aaliyah. A neighborhood watch group starts forming.
A spark of hope seems to be igniting. What does this grassroots resistance signify?
It signifies a shift in the community's perception of power. Open support for the Guardian, willingness to cooperate with Aaliyah, suggests the fear of Cobra is maybe being outweighed by a desire for change. A belief resistance is possible.
Aaliyah receives an anonymous threat, clearly linked to her investigation.
Her editor, Mr. Thompson, expresses deep concern for her safety, but ultimately supports her determination to expose Cobra.
That kind of support from within the media is crucial, isn't it?
It is. For journalists investigating powerful, dangerous people, support from editors, news organizations is vital, provides protection, reinforces the importance of a free press holding power accountable.
Aaliyah and Khalil uncover Cobra's plan for a grand opening of the Eastside Community Center.
Funded by his illicit gains, a seemingly philanthropic endeavor.
They recognize it as a PR stunt, a way to solidify his image.
And they decide to use this event as their chance to expose him publicly.
It's incredibly risky. They know Cobra will expect trouble, have heavy security. Why choose such a public, dangerous setting?
A public confrontation offers maximum impact. Exposing him in front of the community he claims to serve shatters his image, galvanizes public opinion. Risky, yes, but offers a decisive, far-reaching victory.
The final preparations for the grand opening confrontation are underway.
Reviewing blueprints, coordinating with another reporter at the National Chronicle to release evidence.
Working on a plan to disable security systems. Their guiding principle. Justice, not vengeance. Staying true to their ethics.
Their careful planning shows a commitment to a strategic, calculated approach. That mantra underscores their intention to operate within a moral framework.
Khalil, understandably, is worried about Aaliyah's safety.
Voices his worries, but she insists on being an active participant. Their partnership, tinged with personal affection, is strong.
Her insistence shows her courage, her belief in her role.
King Cobra, outwardly confident, is nonetheless anticipating trouble.
Has Miller and Davis on high alert. His metahuman team, Shockwave, Silencer, Nightshade on standby. He's expecting a challenge.
His preparations reveal his awareness of the threat. His reliance on corruption and metahuman enforcers sets the stage for a major clash.
Hours before the event, under cover of darkness, Khalil executes their plan.
Silently disabling security cameras, cutting communication lines, moving with purpose. A ghost.
His preemptive actions show resourcefulness, understanding Cobra's reliance on tech. Neutralizing those systems gives them a crucial tactical advantage.
Cobra's unease grows. Security systems fail. He can't reach Razor. Confronts Miller and Davis,
who are clearly out of their depth. Can't give answers. He knows something's terribly wrong. His control's unraveling.
The failure of security, the comms blackout. It's a significant disruption. His confrontation with the inept cops highlights the fragility of his alliances.
Aaliyah, aware of the dangers, takes precautions, writes a farewell letter.
Meticulously prepares her equipment, ready to document, even live stream. Determined the truth sees the light no matter what.
That's the dedication of a true journalist. Her actions underscore the immense personal risk. Broadcasting ensures transparency, accountability, even in extreme danger.
Khalil arrives at Aaliyah's apartment, a moment of shared vulnerability.
Acknowledging the danger, their unspoken feelings surface. A kiss. A promise to protect each other.
Aaliyah gives him a locket with Marcus's picture, a powerful reminder of what fuels their fight. Adds a deeply personal dimension.
This intimate moment underscores the personal stakes, the deep emotional bond. The locket is a potent symbol.
They head to the community center. Before they can fully implement the plan, Khalil has an initial, tense confrontation with Razor and his men.
A brief, violent skirmish, a prelude to the bigger conflict.
This initial clash signals the start of the active confrontation, highlights the immediate dangers, sets the stage.
The grand opening is in full swing. Cobra's delivering his speech. Sickeningly hypocritical.
Aaliyah blends in, posing as a reporter, camera ready. Khalil watches from a nearby rooftop, poised. The tension is palpable.
The juxtaposition of Cobra's deceptive talk with the criminal reality creates dramatic irony. Their positions signal readiness to disrupt.
Khalil initiates their plan. Decisive action.
Triggers a device, disables cell service, plunges the center into darkness.
Then, a single spotlight illuminates him. He reveals himself not KK, but the East Side Guardian.
His voice booming, publicly accusing Cobra of his crimes. The facade shatters instantly.
This dramatic public accusation is pivotal, disrupting comms, revealing his identity. He seizes control of the narrative, challenges Cobra directly in front of everyone.
Chaos erupts. Cobra's enforcers attack. The crowd panics.
Miller and Davis, caught completely off guard, exposed, their complicity laid bare.
The immediate descent into chaos underscores the fragility of Cobra's control. Panic, the corrupt officials' discomfort, highlight the breakdown of order.
Aaliyah, without hesitation, activates her live stream, camera capturing everything, real-time truth bypassing spin control.
Her swift action is crucial for transparency. An unfiltered view prevents Cobra from controlling the narrative, ensures the public sees reality.
Cobra, desperate, signals his metahuman mercenary Shockwave, Silencer, Nightshade to attack.
The community center instantly transforms into a war zone. Innocent civilians caught in the crossfire.
The deployment of metahumans signifies Cobra's escalation. Extreme danger now for everyone, raises the stakes dramatically.
Despite the pandemonium, Aaliyah keeps filming, unflinching, documenting the mercenaries' brutal attacks.
The courage of community members forming a human shield around her.
And the undeniable complicity of Miller and Davis just standing by.
Aaliyah's bravery exemplifies the vital role of journalists bearing witness. The community's response highlights their solidarity, rejection of Cobra's tyranny.
Khalil is in the thick of the fight, battling enforcers, mercenaries, but consciously avoiding lethal force.
Adhering to the principles he and Aaliyah agreed on, that restraint is significant.
It demonstrates his commitment to a higher standard. Justice, not revenge, shows Aaliyah's influence even mid-conflict.
The inevitable confrontation. Khalil versus King Cobra.
Cobra resorts to personal attacks, taunting Khalil about Marcus.
But Khalil, fighting his rage, makes a crucial decision. He doesn't kill Cobra.
Incapacitates him instead, choosing justice over vengeance in that pivotal moment, the culmination of his internal struggle.
His decision to spare Cobra signifies profound character growth, commitment to justice, rejection of the cycle of violence.
As chaos subsides, authorities arrive. Alerted by Aaliyah's stream, public outcry.
In the confusion, Khalil disappears back into the shadows, his role in the public takedown complete, for now.
His departure allows the legal system to take over, but leaves open his future role as protector. Ambiguous end to this specific confrontation.
In the immediate aftermath, Cobra and the corrupt officials, Miller and Davis, are arrested.
The community, scarred but resilient, begins rebuilding. Aaliyah ensures the evidence is released. Accountability. A significant victory, but the road ahead is long.
The arrests are crucial, dismantling the empire, holding people accountable, but the deep-seated issues that allowed this require sustained effort, community involvement to truly overcome.
Watching from a distance, Khalil witnesses the community's resilience, first glimmers of real change.
Feels quiet pride, but also understands this battle is far from over. His work as the Guardian, whatever form it takes next, will likely continue.
His observation highlights Eastside's enduring spirit, the rekindled hope. His understanding acknowledges persistent challenges, the need for continued vigilance.
And finally, Aaliyah and Khalil meet once more. Cobra and his cronies are in custody. A moment of quiet resolution. A shared breath after the storm.
What do you think is going through their minds at this point?
Probably a mixture of relief, exhaustion, accomplishment. They've won a major victory, but they're likely aware of the long road ahead, the lasting impact on themselves and the community.
So King Cobra's arrest is undoubtedly a major victory. But as we consider the immediate aftermath, it's clear the deep problems in Eastside aren't just going to magically disappear.
Exactly. Removing the head of the snake is important, but you also have to deal with the roots, the systemic corruption, the economic disparities that make people vulnerable. Lasting change requires addressing those underlying issues.
What's truly inspiring, though, is the community's response. Their resilience, their determination to rebuild, that undeniable flicker of hope.
It's a powerful reminder of the strength within a community when it comes together. Underscores the importance of collective action, the enduring human spirit. True change often comes from within.
Aaliyah makes a pretty significant decision in the wake of all this. She leaves Atlanta Metro News.
Yeah, that makes you think, doesn't it? About the state of mainstream media when a reporter with her integrity feels she has to step away.
You're left wondering what her next chapter will be, what role she'll continue to play in Eastside's ongoing story.
Her decision raises important questions about the challenges journalists face confronting powerful interests, potential compromises. Her future involvement will likely be shaped by her commitment to justice, her connection to the community.
And for Khalil, it's clear his time as the Guardian, in its initial form, has likely ended. He gets it. He needs a different approach now.
And crucially, he recognizes the power of collaboration, that he can't and shouldn't try to do it all alone. He's learned the value of allies.
His realization signifies growth, maturity. Lasting change needs more than just individual heroism. It needs community engagement, a strategic long-term vision.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the battle for Eastside, let's leave you with this. In a community plagued by deep corruption, systemic issues, what does true justice really look like?
Is capturing a kingpin enough? Or does lasting change demand a much deeper transformation from within?
Yeah, we encourage you to consider the complexities. Vigilantism, community empowerment, the indispensable role of a free, independent media in fighting for justice.
Perhaps this deep dive will even prompt you to explore real-world examples of communities grappling with similar challenges, the innovative solutions they're pursuing. It's a conversation that continues long after the headlines fade.